Good day everyone. The topic to be discussed is all about social development. What is social development? Social development means acquisition of the ability to behave in accordance with social expectations. Social development is about improving the well-being of individuals in society and investing journey towards their dream with their confidence and dignity. So that is the meaning of social development. Become socialized involves three processes which, although they are separate and distinct, are so closely interrelated that failure in any one of them will lower the individual's level of socialization. So later on we will discuss about the three processes of socialization. So process of socialization through which the growing individuals learn the habit, attitudes, values, beliefs on their society. So socialization means accepting, acquiring, adjusting, and adapting. So that is the socialization. So as I said, there are three processes in socialization. The first is learning to behave in socially approved by ways. The second one is playing approved social rules. And the third is development of social attitudes. So learning to behave in socially approved by ways is every social group has its standards of what is approved behavior for its members. Social behavior or etiquette can make your life more accountable. When you are socializing with others, you're not only letting them know about the value of the behavior, where in fact they will respond to you with this some basic knowledge of proper ways to interact others. So dili ikaw lang tagaan or dili ikaw lang nila pasabdon doonan yung value ng behavior, but tagaan ko isam ng knowledge uno-uno kaw maka-adapt ng matarong sang la. So sang point pa is tudluan ka nila uno-uno ka makipaghalubilo sang lain. So to become socialized, children must not only know what this approved behavior is, but they must also model their own behavior along the approved line. So let themselves to be an example or a model. So the second one is playing approved social rules. So every social group has its own patterns of customary behavior that are carefully defined and are expected by members of the group. When we say social rules, it is the responsibility, expectation, and the behavior we adopt in a certain situation. One way in which we do this is to create social structures that give us chaos or a signal for how to behave. So there are approved rules, for example, for parents and children. So and then maka-encounter gihapon kita ng signal ng parents na to, like I signal, and for teachers to their pupils. So the third processes of socialization, it is called development of social activities. So to become socialized, children must like people and social activities. So socializing involves being with and a part of other people, enjoying their company, confiding in them, or letting them confide in you. and working together towards shared goals, going to church, joining a club or group, chatting online, calling a friend on the phone, or hanging out with the friends are all means of socialization. So, when you say socialization, dapat maging matigam ko makipaghalubilo sang isig ka tao. To become socialized, mag-apil-apil ka na activity na unan yang ika-contribute mo within the society or even in yourself. If they do, they will make good social adjustment and be accepted as members of the social group with which they are identified. Social and non-social people. So, social people are those whose behavior reflects success in the three process of socialization. So, matawag ka na utaw or matawag ka na social if nitong tulo na process apply mo sang sarili mo. So, as a result, they fit into the group with which they are identified and are accepted as group members. So, kung ya i-apply mo ng three processes given by the socialization, you are going to have, you are accepted, you are identified as a group member. So, that is the good result for being socialized person. Gregarious. People are social. People people are social people who crave the presence of others and are not are lonely when they win by themselves. They are satisfied merely to be with others regardless of the nature of contact. So so another social and non-social people is non-social. So when we say non-social, rather, people are those whose behavior does not reflect success in the three processes that characterize a social person. So, pasabot sa non-social, ingini na mga auto yang wa ka achieve or di wa ka achieve yung tris ka success. So, non-socially oriented person. So, mostly gini na mga utaw yang dili mahilig makipag communicate with others. So, dili mahilig makipaghalubilo sang kadaigan. So, agaw itawag sila ng non-social from the word non-social. So, the second is unsocial. So, people are non-social people who are ignorant of what the social group expect and as a result behave in a manner that falls short of social expectations. Because of this, they are not accepted by the group and are forced to spend too much of their time in solitude. So, another social and non-social people is antisocial. So, when we say antisocial, people are non-social people who know what are the group expects, but because of antagonistic attitudes towards people, they violated the group mores. As a result, they are neglected or rejected by the group. So, when we say antisocial, for example, is abusive or insulting behavior, it is an acting that harm or lack considerations for the well-being of others. So, the variations in social group influences such as acceptability to the group, security of status, type of group, different members of the group, personality, and the last is affiliation motive. So, acceptability to the group by degree to which group members approve of a new, prospective, or potential member as reflected on his or her admissions to the group and relative states and role within it. Group acceptance is how the group accepted new members. So, when we say acceptability to the group, it is the group, or it is the people who accept the another members to the group. So the second is security of status. The security status of an enterprises, networks, information, and system based on information security resources, people, hardware, software, policies, and capabilities in place to manage the defense of the enterprise and to react the situation changes. So, security of status. Type of group. Group largely define how we think of ourselves. There are two main types of groups: primary groups and the secondary groups. As the name suggests, the primary group is the long-term complex one, and people use group as standards of comparison to define themselves, both they are and who they are not. So, type of group. Different members of the group. There are four fundamental rules to consider: leader, facilitator, monitor, note, note taker, timekeeper, and civils advocate. For larger groups, some of them rules can be divided between two students. So there are different members of the group. The next is personality. Personality is defined as the characteristics, sets of behavior, cognitions, and emotional patterns that involve from biological and environmental factors. While there is no generally agreed upon definition of personality, most theories focus on motivation and psychological interaction with one's environment. So, personality is defined as characters. Affiliation motive. The affiliation motive theory is the belief the people desire to belong to a group or organization. In a work setting, affiliation motivation can encourage coworkers to communicate clearly and develop those relationships with one another, leading to a sense of leading to a sense of community. So that is the affiliation. Importance of early social experience. Early social experience largely determine the sort of adults children will become. While a child's early social experiences may be centered on family members, this soon expands to other be combined in unique ways to determine how a child develops and the person they will one day become. So, in importance of early social experience, so with it starts in a family. Predominantly happy experiences encourage the child to see more such experiences and to become a social person. Societal introjection is becoming more and more important as more children go to daycare, can enhance a child's social skills and can provide rich learning experience. So, early social experiences may be with family members or with people outside. Children who grow up in a positive family climate are better equipped to have a healthy relationship can be influenced by the experience peoples have. So when we say early social experiences, when a child grow up in a positive family, of course, makaada, yang isa-isa magbagas ng positive. Importance of early social experience is family influences. outside influences.
Adults. Young children spend less time with adults and derive less enjoyment from being with them. At the same time, their interest in playmates of their own age increases, and the enjoyment from being with them gets stronger. This is where they have developed friendship with other kids. They tend to initiate or join plays with other children and make up games, which they find more fun than being with adults. Next, relations with other children. Before the age of 2 years, young children engage in solitary or parallel play. Their contacts consist primarily of imitating or watching one another or attempting to take one another's toys. So, in this stage, this is where children tends to fight with one another because they might have developed a new behavior ngayang matigam da sila masina, like kung una niya ang sa iban gusto isab nila na aun kanilan. That's why they attempt to take one another's toys. So here are some behavior pattern in social situation during early childhood. We have here cooperation, rivalry, generosity, desire for social approval, sympathy, empathy, dependency, friendliness, unselfishness, imitation, attachment behavior, negativism, aggression, quarreling, teasing and bullying, ascendant behavior, egocentrism, prejudice, and sex antagonism. Okay, so next is social development in late childhood. Upon beginning school, children enter the gang age. It is an age when social consciousness develops rapidly. They become members of peer group, which will gradually replace the family and its influences over their attitude and behavior. So this is where they tend to decide on their own. They become more mature physically, cognitively, emotionally, socially, and sexually. So physically, children become taller and more muscular and refine their ability in controlling their bodies. Next is cognitively. This is where children's thinking skills advance and transform. Third is emotionally. This is where children become better at expressing or withholding their feelings in sociable and acceptable ways. Fourth is socially. This is where children become more sociable because of their peers. And lastly is sexually. This is where they have developed or learned about their own gender identity. Next is the characteristic of children's gangs. Gangs sometimes have initiation ceremonies to test a new member's skills or physical endurance, to create loyalty within the group, and to make each member feel important because of being accepted. So, diba, just like fraternities, new members have to undergo some ceremonies or activities just like being hit by a baseball bat just for you to be accepted. It is because they wanted to create a loyalty within the group. Next, the preferred meeting place of the gang minimizes adult interference and maximizes opportunities for favored gang activities. Girls usually meet close to the home, and while boys meet as far from home as possible. So, diba, just like in the movies, gangs usually uses abandoned places or buildings. It is because they don't want adult interference for them to be able to do their activities just like their initiation ceremonies. So gang activities also include all kinds of group play and entertainment, making things, annoying other people, exploring and engaging in forbidden activities such as gambling, smoking, drinking, and experimenting with drugs. That's why most parents tend to forbid their children on entering gangs. It's because of their deeds. Social development at puberty. With the beginning of puberty comes a change in social attitudes, a decline in interest in group activities, and tendency to prefer solitude. As puberty progresses and the rate of puberty changes speeds up, social attitudes and behavior become increasingly antisocial. So, as we grow older, we also become mature, but that comes with social changes. We become autonomous from our parents, and spend more time with our peers. We begin to explore romantic relationships and sexuality, and that is all because of the changes on our social attitudes and behavior. So here are some characteristics of attitudes and behavior at puberty. Pubescent children sometimes have an antagonistic attitude toward everyone. They go around with chips on their shoulders and sneers on their faces. Pubescent are even more aggressive than preschoolers, instigating fight with peers and criticizing, arguing, and finding fault with almost everything adults do. So, diba, there are some of us who thinks that they're always right. They always find faults in everything that you do, and as a result, they end up arguing and criticizing everyone around them, even their peers. Next is pubescent quarrel over the most trivial matters and pick fights with members of their gangs, criticizing whatever they do and delighting in hurting their feelings. As a result, many long-standing friendships are broken. So, as what I have said earlier, there are some who thinks that they're always the right ones. So, when you have that kind of mentality, and when you're arguing with your peers, di ba, hindi mo naman na maiisip kung for how long you've been friends with that person. I don't know if it is because you don't know how to accept your mistake, or maybe because you were just blinded by anger to the point that the years and the challenges that you've been through together doesn't matter anymore. So next is, according to pubescent children, social activities bore them, especially family gatherings and holiday celebration. I'm not saying that all of us, but I think most of us fits with these characteristics. So let's say, for example, when your family is having a family gathering at your house, and then at the same time your friend is also having a party at their house. So you will most likely choose to go to your friend's house. It is because you tend to have more fun with your friends than when you're with your parents. Next is pubescents spend much of their time in isolation, engaging in daydreams in which they play the role of martyrs or thinking about sex, exploring the